Welcome to another episode of Identity and Access Management Crashcasts. I'm your host Sheila, and today we're diving into a crucial topic in modern application development, OAuth 2.0, the authorization framework powering modern applications. Joining me as always is our expert, Victor. Hello, Victor.
Hello, Sheila. I'm excited to explore OAuth 2.0 with you and our listeners today. It's a fundamental concept that every developer should understand.
Absolutely. Before we start, listeners, to get the most out of this episode, it would be helpful if you have a basic understanding of HTTP protocols and API concepts. Now, let's kick things off with a quiz question. What's the primary purpose of OAuth 2.0? Is it authentication or authorization?
That's an excellent question, Sheila. It touches on a common misconception about OAuth 2.0. Listeners, think about the difference between proving who you are and granting permission to do something. We'll reveal the answer at the end of the episode, so stay tuned.
Great setup, Victor. Now let's start with the basics. Can you give us a brief history of OAuth 2.0 and why it was created?
Certainly. OAuth 2.0 was developed as a successor to OAuth 1.0, which was created in 2006. The need for OAuth arose from the growing trend of web applications wanting to access user data from other services without requiring users to share their passwords. OAuth 2.0, published in 2012, simplified the authorization process and improved support for non-web applications.
That's interesting. So it's all about secure access delegation. Could you explain the key components of OAuth 2.0?
Of course. There are four main components in OAuth 2.0. Point 1. Client, the application requesting access to a protected resource. Point 2. Resource owner, the user who owns the protected resource. Point 3. Authorization server, authenticates the resource owner and issues access tokens. Point 4. Resource server, hosts the protected resources and accepts access tokens.
That's helpful, Victor. To make it more relatable, could you provide an analogy to explain how these components work together?
Sure. Think of OAuth 2.0 like a valet parking system at a fancy restaurant. The client is like the valet, the resource owner is the car owner, the authorization server is the valet stand that issues parking tickets, and the resource server is the parking lot. Just as you wouldn't give your car keys to just anyone, OAuth 2.0 allows users to grant specific permissions without sharing their credentials.
That's a great analogy. Now, I've heard about different OAuth 2.0 flows. Could you explain what they are and when to use them?
Certainly. There are four main OAuth 2.0 flows. Point 1. Authorization Code, used for server-side web applications. Point 2. Implicit, used for single-page applications or mobile apps. Point 3. Resource owner password credentials, used for trusted first-party applications. Point 4. Client credentials, used for machine-to-machine communication. Each flow is designed for specific use cases, balancing security and user experience.
That's quite a bit to take in. Let's focus on the most common flow, the Authorization Code flow. How does it work?
The Authorization Code flow is indeed the most commonly used. Here's a simplified step-by-step process. Point 1. The client redirects the user to the authorization server. Point 2. The user authenticates and grants permissions. Point 3. The authorization server redirects back to the client with an authorization code. Point 4. The client exchanges this code for an access token. Point 5. The client uses the access token to request resources from the resource server. This flow is secure because the access token is never exposed to the user's browser.
I see. You mentioned access tokens. Are there different types of tokens in OAuth 2.0?
Yes, there are primarily two types of tokens. Point 1. Access tokens, short-lived tokens used to access protected resources. Point 2. Refresh tokens, long-lived tokens used to obtain new access tokens without user intervention. It's crucial to handle these tokens securely and never expose them to the client side of web applications.
That makes sense. Now, how does OAuth 2.0 compare to other authentication methods like OpenID Connect?
Great question. While OAuth 2.0 is primarily for authorization, OpenID Connect is built on top of OAuth 2.0 and adds an authentication layer. OpenID Connect provides information about the user, which we call claims, whereas OAuth 2.0 focuses on granting access to resources. Many modern systems use both in conjunction for a complete identity and access management solution.
That's really helpful, Victor. As we wrap up, could you share some best practices for implementing OAuth 2.0?
Absolutely. Here are a few key best practices. Point 1. Always use HTTPS to protect token transmission. Point 2. Implement proper token validation on the resource server. Point 3. Use short-lived access tokens and secure storage for refresh tokens. Point 4. Implement proper scope handling to limit access to only necessary resources. Point 5. Regularly audit and rotate client secrets. Remember, security in OAuth 2.0 relies heavily on correct implementation, so always stay updated with the latest security recommendations.
Thank you, Victor. Those are excellent tips. Now let's reveal the answer to our quiz question. What's the primary purpose of OAuth 2.0? Authentication or authorization?
The answer is authorization. OAuth 2.0 is primarily an authorization framework designed to grant access to resources without sharing credentials. While it's often used in authentication workflows, that's not its primary purpose.
Great explanation. To summarize today's episode, point 1. 2.0 is an authorization framework for secure access delegation. Point 2. It involves 4 key components: client, resource owner, authorization server, and resource server. Point 3. There are different OAuth 2.0 flows for various use cases, with the authorization code flow being the most common. Point 4. OAuth 2.0 uses access tokens and refresh tokens for secure resource access. Point 5. Proper implementation and following best practices are crucial for OAuth 2.0 security. Thank you for tuning in to Identity and Access Management Crashcasts. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and rate our podcast. Until next time, keep learning and stay secure.